Hello, darling. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question for a moment. When was the last time you gave yourself permission? Not permission to go somewhere, or buy something, or take a day off, but real, deep, soul-level permission to begin again. To look at wherever you are right now, however messy it looks, however far from where you thought you'd be by now, and say, it's okay, I can start over. And I don't owe anyone an apology for that. If the answer is, I can't remember, or I've never done that, then you are exactly where you need to be right now, watching this in this moment. Because today, we are going to talk about something that I believe with every fiber of my being that you are allowed to start again, fully, freely, and without one single ounce of guilt. I know you've been carrying it. That quiet, heavy feeling that sits somewhere between your chest and your stomach. The one that whispers things like, you already tried that and it didn't work, or what will people think? Or my personal favorite, you should have figured this out by now. Oh, that one is particularly creative, isn't it? As if life handed you a rule book with a deadline on healing, growing, and becoming. As if there was some committee somewhere reviewing your progress and shaking their heads. Spoiler, there is no committee. And even if there were, their opinion would be absolutely none of your business. Here's what I want you to try right now. Take a breath, a real one, and just say these words, either out loud or quietly in your heart. I deserve to begin again. Go ahead. Say it. I deserve to begin again. And if something in you just flinched a little, or felt resistance, or thought, do I though? That's okay. That resistance is not the truth about you. That resistance is just an old story. And today, we are writing a new one. Now, I want to acknowledge something because I think it matters enormously. Starting over is not easy. I don't want to sit here and pretend that it is, because that would be doing you a disservice, and frankly, you're too smart for that. Starting over can feel terrifying. It can feel like admitting defeat. It can feel like standing in the middle of a room that used to have furniture in it, and all you can see is how empty it looks. But here's what nobody tells you about empty rooms: they have the most potential. An empty room is a gift. It is possibility in its purest, most honest form. The furniture of your old life, your old habits, your old ways of seeing yourself, some of it served you. And some of it was just taking up space. And now you get to choose what goes back in. I want you to think about a time when you were absolutely certain something was ruined. Maybe it was a relationship, maybe it was a career, maybe it was your health, or your confidence, or your sense of self. And honey, I want you to think about how you felt in that moment, the panic, the grief, the certainty that this was it, this was the end, there was no coming back from this. And now I want you to look at where you are today. You are here. You made it. Which means that every single time you thought it was over, you were wrong. Every single time life looked like a closed door, there was a window somewhere that you eventually found, even if it took you a while to find it. You have a 100% track record of surviving your hardest days. Let that land for a second. 100%. Every hard thing that ever came at you, you are still here. And that is not a small thing. That is everything. Now, let's talk about guilt. Because guilt loves to be the uninvited guest at every fresh start. Guilt is that friend who shows up at your birthday party and spends the whole night reminding you of the time you embarrassed yourself in 2014. Not helpful, not welcome, and yet we let it in, we let it sit down, we offer it snacks, we start listening to its little speeches and nodding along as if it's making valid points. So today, I am going to gently ask you to stop feeding the guilt. Not because what you've been through doesn't matter, not because your mistakes weren't real, but because guilt, when it overstays its welcome, doesn't help you grow. It just keeps you frozen in a version of yourself that you are actively trying to evolve beyond. And you cannot become who you are meant to be while you're chained to who you used to be. Here is something I know to be deeply, profoundly true. Life is not linear. It was never meant to be. We are not machines running a program from point A to point B. We are living, breathing, evolving human beings, and evolution is messy. Evolution involves dead ends and backtracking and, wait, that's not right, let me try this instead. A caterpillar doesn't feel guilty about becoming a butterfly. It doesn't sit in its cocoon saying, I really should have figured out flying by now. No, it does the internal work. It surrenders to the process. And then, when the time is right, it emerges as something completely new, and not one single caterpillar in the history of caterpillars has ever apologized for that transformation. You don't have to either. Let's slow down for a moment here, because this next part I want you to really receive, not just hear, receive. I want you to place one hand on your heart if you feel comfortable doing so. And I want you to take a breath, and then I want you to repeat after me slowly. I am not my past mistakes. Say it again. I am not my past mistakes. One more time, like you mean it. I am not my past mistakes. Those words, that's not wishful thinking, that is not toxic positivity, that is not pretending bad things didn't happen. That is you choosing to define yourself by your capacity to heal rather than by the moments when you stumbled. And that choice, that daily, sometimes hourly choice, that is one of the most powerful things a human being can do. Because here is what I've come to understand after all my years of working with people, of sitting with their stories and their pain and their incredible resilience. Most of us are not held back by our actual circumstances. We are held back by the story we tell about our circumstances. We say, I failed, when what actually happened is we tried something, learned something, and now know more than we did before. We say, I'm broken, when what is actually true is that we are healing, and healing is not the same as broken, not even close. We say, it's too late, when what we mean is, I'm scared. And fear, my love, is not a fact. Fear is a feeling. A very loud, very persuasive feeling, but a feeling nonetheless. And feelings, unlike facts, can be changed. So, let's talk about what it actually looks like to start again without guilt. Because I don't want this to stay in the abstract. I want this to be something you can actually feel in your body and carry with you after you close this video. Starting again without guilt means waking up tomorrow and choosing differently, even in just one small area of your life. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to sell everything you own and move to a different country. Although if that's calling you, we should talk. Starting again can be as simple as drinking one more glass of water, having one honest conversation, putting down the phone and picking up the book, writing the first sentence of the thing you've been meaning to write for 3 years. One sentence, just one. Because here's the secret about new beginnings. They almost never look like the movies. There is no dramatic sunrise montage. There is no swelling music. There is usually just a quiet moment, a small decision, a tiny brave act that only you might even notice. And those tiny brave acts stacked on top of each other day after day are what transformation is actually made of. Now, I want to speak directly to someone who might be watching this and thinking, but you don't know what I've done. You don't know how badly I messed up. You don't know how many times I've tried and fallen back. And you're right, I don't know the specifics. But I know this, whatever it is, you are still worthy of love. You are still worthy of a fresh start. Your worth is not something you earn by being perfect or by getting it right the first time or the 5th time or the 20th time. Your worth is inherent. It is baked into the very fact of your existence. You didn't have to do a single thing to deserve your place in this world. You showed up, and that was enough. The work now is not to earn your worthiness, it is simply to remember it. Let's do another affirmation together. And I want you to say this one slowly, with real intention. I release the past with love, and I welcome my new beginning. Say it like you're talking to someone you care about, because you are. I release the past with love, and I welcome my new beginning. Feel free to put that one in the comments. I genuinely want to see you claim that for yourself today, publicly, because there is something powerful about saying it out loud, about letting someone else witness your commitment to yourself. Community matters. Being seen matters. And if this is a space where you feel safe enough to be seen, please use it. Here is something I want to offer you that I find deeply freeing. You do not need anyone's permission to start again. Not your mother's, not your ex's. Not your old friends who said, "I told you so." Not even the version of yourself from last year who had very strong opinions about how things should go. That person did their best. They really did. And now you are a slightly different person, a person who has learned something new, felt something deeply, and arrived at this moment with more information than you had before. You get to decide what you do with that information. And one of the things you can decide, maybe the most important thing, is that you are no longer going to let the past have a vote in how you live today. I want to tell you something about healing, because healing is not what most of us were taught it would look like. We were taught it was linear. We were taught it had stages and timelines, and that eventually you'd reach this finish line where you'd be healed and everything would be easy and shiny and fine. And then life happened, and we discovered that healing is more like a spiral. You come back to the same things, but from different angles. You feel something you thought you'd processed, and you think, "Oh no, I'm going backwards." You're not going backwards, you're going deeper. You are not starting over from scratch. You are starting over from experience, and that is a completely different thing. Every time you revisit something that hurt you, you do it with more tools, more self-awareness, more capacity for compassion than you had before. The spiral is not failure. The spiral is how humans actually work. And can we just take a moment to appreciate how hard you've been working? I mean that sincerely. The fact that you are here, watching this, seeking this, that is not the behavior of someone who has given up. That is the behavior of someone who refuses to give up, someone who is still reaching, still asking the questions, still showing up for themselves even when it's hard. That takes courage, and I want you to acknowledge that. Not in a congratulatory, pat yourself on the back and move on kind of way, but in a real, quiet, sincere way. You are brave. You might not feel brave. You might feel exhausted and uncertain and like you have no idea what comes next. But brave people don't feel fearless. Brave people feel afraid and keep going anyway. And here you are, still going. Let's do one more affirmation together, because I want to leave you with something you can carry. Take a breath and repeat after me. Every day is a new opportunity for me to love myself more deeply. Again, every day is a new opportunity for me to love myself more deeply. And one more time, every day is a new opportunity for me to love myself more deeply. That one is not a luxury. That is a practice. That is something you can come back to in the middle of the hardest days. In the moments when guilt tries to knock on the door again. In the moments when you wonder if you're allowed to try again. Yes, You are allowed. You have always been allowed. So here's what I want you to do when this video ends. I want you to pick one thing, just one, that represents a small, fresh start for you. It can be something completely private, something nobody else would even notice. And I want you to do that one thing today, not tomorrow, not when I'm ready, not once things settle down, today. Because today is the only day we ever actually have, and the person you are becoming is built one present moment decision at a time. You came here today looking for something. Maybe you wanted permission. Maybe you wanted validation. Maybe you just needed someone to look you in the eyes and say, hey, it's okay. You can begin again. So consider this me looking you right in the eyes. It is okay. You can begin again. And not just okay, it is necessary, and it is beautiful, and it is the bravest, most loving thing you can do for yourself. If this landed for you today, if something here moved you, or cracked something open, or made you feel even slightly less alone in what you're carrying, will you leave a comment and tell me what resonated? Tell me what your fresh start looks like. Tell me the affirmation you're taking with you. Let's build something real here together. A community of people who are choosing themselves over and over again, without apology and without guilt. You can also share this with someone you love who might need this reminder today. And if you haven't already, subscribe and stay close, because this is just the beginning of the conversation, and there is so much more I want to share with you. You are worthy. You are whole. And your fresh start begins right now.